Well, thank you, team. Thank you for that prayer. Ryan, don't go anywhere, buddy. Now, let me just, by the way, I'm Juno. I'm the lead guy here, lead pastor. Uh, you know, 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks ago? You were mean to me on stage?
Mean is not the word I would use.
Okay. And everybody said, oh, you wait, Ryan, until Father's Day, because he made how many jokes? I mean, you even threw my grandkids under the bus. He had pictures of his chickens and said they were named Ezra and Roman Juno. And so let me just say, my sermon.
I saw the video that Mackenzie posted, and those kids were running around like my chickens do. So,
Yes, they were. So let me just say this. It is a pleasure. Get over here. You don't have to. He's standing like I'm going to hit him or something. No, it is a pleasure to work with you. My sermon's been in the notes for over a week now, and there's nothing sarcastic, derogative, mean, or anything about you. I just love you and enjoy working with you.
oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I have to say the same.
Oh.
And so maybe we're turning a new leaf here, where we just
I-
build each
don't-
other up in the sermons.
Don't go that far, buddy. There's always next time. So anyway, but you're a good man, and I'm thrilled to be working with him. So.
Thanks, Juno. Thank you so much.
And if I've lied, forgive me, Lord. No, that is, no. Anyway, so you saw my grandkids up there. That was Ezra running around. He grabbed the phone, didn't he? It looked like, the camera. So anyway, again, we just understand that today, for some of you, is a great day of celebration. Ryan, you're a great dad. And for many others, there's a struggle. And so we acknowledge that. And so today we start our summer series called Summer in Proverbs. Is that it, I think? I don't know if we got a sign for it or not, but anyway. And it's really a great opportunity for those of us on our speaking team, those who will be teaching. They get to pick out any of the Proverbs they want, and they're going to share about those. And so the advantage is you're going to be able to dive into the Word a little bit more this summer, but you're also going to catch probably a glimpse of those who are on staff that God has called to be able to teach to you on a more personal level. And so let me just say, for those of you who don't know, like the book of Proverbs, it's in the First Testament, the Old Testament. And if you take your Bible and, right down the middle, you'll find Psalms, and then right next to Psalms is Proverbs. And so that's where it's at. And it is it's a collection of wisdom teaching, usually attributed to a guy named King Solomon, who has been known for his wisdom. It's a book that covers a wide range of topics about life. It helps us with a moral guidance and some practical advice for living each and every day. It's about relationships. It's about work ethics. It's about really having a healthy fear of God. And in fact, Billy Graham has said that read one Proverbs a day. Some of you are like, oh, somebody asked me last week, I think, hey, where should I start reading? If you read one Proverbs a day, so today's September? Not September. I have another one. No, what's today's date? June what? 15th? Okay, we'll get through this before noon. Proverbs 16. If you don't know where to start, go home and read Proverbs 16. And if you read a Proverbs a day, it'll take you through a month and then start it back over. Because as we know, you could read that same passage a half a dozen times, and God will speak to you in some different ways about that passage, depending on where you're at in life. And so anyway, we decided just to go ahead and dive into the book of Proverbs this summer. Again, it's short, they're concise statements, and they really do offer some insight into really life situations and guidance and just some wisdom, and that's why it's called the wisdom literature, on how to live a life that is honoring to God. And again, the book emphasizes the importance of really seeking wisdom and obeying God's commandments and really living a life of integrity. And really, all of us need that reminder. And it contrasts the ways of the wise and the ways of the foolish. And so which way are you going to do? Which decision are you going to make? And it highlights the benefits of wisdom and really the consequences of making some poor decisions. Some will describe it as really the most practical guidebook for life. And it offers some timeless principles on, again, how we deal with people, even in various cultures. So the big question is, what does a pastor teach, or what does a pastor preach on Father's Day from the book of Proverbs? I told Ryan I wanted to be in Michigan this weekend. He goes, no, I think you need to stay here and preach from Proverbs on Father's Day. I'm like, oh. Most pastors struggle with both Mother's Day and Father's Day. Not because they're a bad mother or father, but because I call it's a Hallmark day. There's no Father's Day in Scripture. There's no Mother's Day in Scripture. Oh, but it gives plenty of hints on how to be a good dad or a good mom. But as we mentioned several times at part of our service, is that it's a difficult day for you, our people, for you watching online. Some of you are online watching because you did not want to come to a church on Father's Day. And so there is a ton of pain out here in our crowd and back at home. And so, what does a pastor preach on? And it would have been easier for me just to say, Ryan, you got Father's Day. I'm going to be at home with my daughter's house with them today. But nope, here I am. And so I hope you don't think I should have stayed in Michigan and skipped today. I shared this with the board, I think almost 2 months ago. And I said, I just as soon skip Father's Day because they're just, again, difficult days. So I've been really planning this sermon for several weeks. In fact, I've been a dad for 30 years, so really I've been planning it for 30 years. And if you throw the Papa card in there, it's 2 years and 2 months plus. And so what do I say to a people that some of you are thinking, I wish my dad was here? Some of you are saying, I'm glad my dad is not here. Some of you, again, as we said in our prayer, you really want to be a dad, but you're not. Some of you are living moments of regret saying, I just blew it as a dad. And so what am I going to hear in church? And so what I did, as what many people will do, is I sent out a ton of email. I do that anyway. But I sent out a ton of email to some friends, some dads, and saying, if you were to go, some don't go to church, some do. If you were to go to church on Father's Day, what would you expect to hear? Or what do you need to hear on Father's Day? And so here's what some of the things I heard. That most men deeply desire to be affirmed and not criticized or coached on how to be a better dad. So spouses, if you're ready to elbow the guy next to you to say, yeah, you better do what this guy says, nope, that's not going to happen today. Single dads wanted affirmation that they are doing a great job, despite whatever the circumstance is that took them to being a single dad. Hardworking dads just wanted to be noticed and appreciated for their dedicated work in helping to bring home the bacon, so to speak, for the family. And many of them, which is sad, many of them felt shortchanged. And again, I'm picturing everybody who wrote these. Feels shortchanged when it comes to receiving respect and being valued on Father's Day. So if you're thinking the old man, I'm not an old man, I'm not an old, say Ryan, I'm not an old man, don't even go there, buddy. What's he gonna say today? Well, I am not gonna rip on dads for dropping the ball, and whatever that may mean in your context of parenthood. So, with the help of a guy named Ryan Nolan, who brought a new perspective to this particular proverb that I'll be teaching from, I've been able, I think, to hopefully bring a word from the Lord into how we can view, not just for men, not just for dads, but for all men, as well as even for women. And it's Proverbs 31. It's known as probably the woman's Proverbs. This Proverbs was shared at my wedding 35 years ago. It's the same proverb. That I read to my wife as she was, as the saying goes, dancing with Jesus, about ready to pass away. And so it's obviously an important proverb, but it's not just for women who are married. Sure, husbands are mentioned several times in the proverb, but it's really for all women. It's really a proverb for men and women, not just dads, and not just married women. And so I hope as I touch on a few verses today, that you will be encouraged. And really, the bottom line is, you read this, single woman, don't cave in for anybody. Look for that Proverb 31 man, which I'll talk about. And men, you just don't cave in and just marry somebody, or don't treat your wife with disrespect. But anyway, we're going to get to that. I just want to make sure our single women, that you feel loved, you feel valued, not just by us, but from our Creator, because you also have been created in the image of God. And so again, this guy named Ryan Noland, he talks about this Proverbs 31 man. And he says that the Proverbs 31 man is a reminder, again, to single women to never settle. And I used to say to my daughter, saying yes today just for an immediate solution, oh, this guy's not bad, oh, I can date him, does not guarantee long-term happiness. Yes, I was one of those dads that overprotective, I'll just say it, overprotective of who my daughter dated, knowing that one of these days that could be her husband. And so just don't settle for the sake of having a boyfriend. But anyway, again, it is a great Proverbs, and it's a reminder, again, for both men and women that the man needs to be able to grow and to be able to honor and love and respect a woman that brings him good, not harm, all the days of his life. So, let's take a look now at Proverbs 31, 10 to 13. Look it up on your devices, or we're going to have it. Yes, we are. We're going to have it on the screen. Shout out to our great team in the back that somehow can follow what I'm saying, even when I can't at times. But let's take a look at Proverbs 31, 10 to 13. We read, "A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life." And again, this proverb is a reminder to every husband of the importance of valuing and cherishing and honoring his wife, just as it reminds married women that they are worthy of being pursued. So men, thank you. Thank you for having confidence in your wife. In fact, again, as godly men, we should extend that confidence not just to our wives, for those who are married, but to all women. whether you are working with them, whether they are your neighbor, whether they are working in a company that you need some service from, we need to be able to have confidence in all women, because they, again, have been created in the image of God. They are not just an appendage of an extension of me as a man or you as a man, but they are created in God's image. And so again, thank you for valuing women, for valuing the input that they may have on something going on in your world. Thank you for trusting and believing in them. And again, earlier in Proverbs 31, way back in verses 11 and 12, it again mentions the husband. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. The wife is of noble character who lacks nothing, and her husband sees her worth. And and her husband sees her worth is probably a whole sermon series in and of itself. And the first characteristic described by this Proverbs 31 man is that his confidence in his wife. Her value is evident to him. And because of who she is, he has full trust in her. He believes in her. So again, confidence. So men, dads, husbands, thank you for your confidence in women. Thank you for your trust in them. Thank you for believing in them. And there is just a strong bond of trust as you read through Proverbs 31. Skip ahead, not just the 16th for today, but go ahead when you go home and read the entire chapter. And a woman is very empowered as we read through Proverbs 31. Again, she is described as using her own earnings to buy fields and plant vineyards in verse 16. Her passion for her work is evident. She makes her own business decisions and uses her earnings to provide for her family. Now, I'd say to my wife, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. You can be this Proverbs 31 woman. My ego's not going to be hurt if you're bringing home the bacon, sweetie. And so that wasn't quite the way it worked in our family, but I have no qualms about stay-at-home dads, depending on the gifting of each individual. And again, while these qualities are inherent to her, again, her husband plays a role as he trusts and believes in her. So again, men, if you take anything home besides the goodies after church today, thank you for trusting in your wives and trusting in women. Thank you for resisting the temptation of thinking her whole purpose in life is to serve you, but honoring and understanding of the value that she brings to your family and to you as a man of God. And again, no doubt that these verses, the image of their marriage is real, and it's a partnership. So we don't want to pull that out of the proverb and just throw it away, but that it indeed addresses the issue of man and wife, husband and wife. And again, the Proverbs 31 man does not only sees her as who she is, but there's a partnership. There's value there. And because of this, again, he respects her and he loves her. And when he makes decision, he asks for her input. I don't need, again, elbowing and hand raising up, but it's a man who has full confidence in his wife would treat her as such. And so again, men, thanks for going the extra mile. Thanks for resisting the myth that women are second-class citizens and that they only exist to help you achieve your goals and your dreams. But in reality, together as husband and wife, she is a part of that whole process. So let's look at verse 20. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. And again, as you learn about that Proverbs 31 woman, which is sort of like a tagline to this passage, a woman's business dealings and her generosity and her care and what she does for the poor is key. She's a woman of character. She is a woman that has a heart. And we also learn then about the husband in verse 23 and 23, that her husband is respected at the city gates, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. And so again, in the context of when this is written, to earn a seat at the elders, a man must be of good reputation. And this is a reputation not earned by just a nice personality, but by good deeds. How he responds to others in public and how he leads. Having a seat among the elders shows that he is involved in the community, not just sitting around home and doing nothing, but he is literally involved in what's happening in their world. So again, men, thank you for living a life of integrity, for being trustworthy, and for providing wise and spiritual counsel to not only your own family, but wherever you may be serving, wherever you have a passion for, a commitment to. Thank you for taking those roles. Thank you for being a man of high character. In verse 25, we read, she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. And then in verse 28, her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. And again, men, thanks for honoring your wives. Thanks for not going light on the praise. And I know for many people, words of affirmation, words of praise, weren't probably depending on the age, but I don't want to ageism people. But for some of you, audible praise by your parents was non-existent. And some of you think, well, I got this far without it. Why do I need to be so caring to my wife or to my kids? But no, you need to break some cycles. And so again, men, thanks for not going light on the praise. And you've been there, I've been there, when a woman does something, a wife, and the guy just belittles her and says some things that I'm thinking, it would have been my funeral if I would have said something like that to my wife. You just don't say those cruel, heart-damaging things. And some will say, oh, that's no big deal. It's like, oh, people, it is a big deal. And so to all the men here and to the guys who are watching, thanks for really digging deep and rising above your family of origin issues about verbal praise and affirmation and even saying the word love. Too many people have said they've never heard their dad say, I love you, which just breaks my heart. So again, men, thanks for digging deep again and weeding through the stuff of your family of origin, which you're going to have to face it sooner or later, and weeding through that and loving on your kids, loving on your wife, being a person of affirmation to whoever you meet, not just your wife, but to the people in public, to the people who wait on you in the stores, to your neighbors. Be that guy that has a kind word to say, not somebody who is constantly nitpicking and complaining about any and everything. And so again, men, let me just emphasize that again. Thank you. Thank you for loving on the women in your life by praising them intentionally, by praising them specifically. My wife would make a great dinner. My daughter would say, thanks, Mom. And my wife would say, and? looking at me, thanks, dear. Thanks, dear, for what? Thanks, dear, for making a great dinner. Yeah, so I was trained, and my daughter has picked that up now. Anyway, so all that to say is they're just easy. We just got to tweak a few things. But thank you. Thank you for making the steps that are easier said than done at times. Thanks for focusing on the inner beauty that God has developed in your wife, in the people that you work with. Your wife will appreciate it. And as your kids, and this is key, as your kids hear you affirm and praise your spouse, you are creating already a legacy for them. For them, how they're going to treat their spouse, how they're going to treat their friends. And folks, you see it. You see it in your grandkids. You see it in your kids. You're thinking, where do they pick that up from? You're like, whether it's negative or positive, it's somewhere at home, most likely. Again, no doubt that we could say more on this whole idea of being men who are encouraging and trusting, men who empower not just the women in your lives, but who empower other people, being outward focused. But again, I am grateful for hanging around with people that are respectful, that value women, that are a man of character, who are biblically founded in how they act and how they respond. And so, friends, wherever you find people in your lives, dig deep. Reflect the character of what Christ wants us to reflect. Let us remember that we are all created in the image of God. And so as men, again, thank you for, on the way home, if you're driving home and you're tired and fed up and disgusted with what happened at work, that you leave that in the car. And then you enter that door loving your family and loving your wife. Honor them privately, honor them publicly, and praise them for all that God is doing in their lives. Be that kind of a Proverbs man. I don't care if you're retired. I don't care if you're still working or if you're still in school. God has called all of us to make a difference in people's lives. And I think we can do that if we're those men of integrity, of compassion, of praise, of looking at people through God's perspective. And as we do that, together, we will be new life for the city. And God's people said, amen.